play. Dang you. Why is this not playing? Huh. It's technology, man. I'll tell you what. Oh, that's probably why.
I don't like it. I'm not a fan, actually.
There we go. Hey. Hi, everybody.
Pour my tea, pour my thoughts into separate beds. Spilling out in the clouds, whirling like a pirouette. Every breath, every cross, everywhere I turn. In my head, stitching thread until my temples burn. From the crease of your mouth to the picket fences. All the space stretching out, blurring my defenses. Dignity, diligence, I could not avenge. Sink my teeth in the sheets and taste the emptiness. Love is sweet, love is dark, and it pulls your world apart so you can grow. Now I see perfectly, oh how it's clear. What I needed the most was you here. If I ever let you down, if I ever let you down.
Is there music playing?
Yeah, can you not hear it?
Can you?
Because if there's music playing, I can't hear it.
Could you also not hear Bryce talking
Also,
to you
now I
about
can
music?
hear nothing.
Oh, gosh.
I can't hear it.
Yeah, all right, hold on. It's going great.
Ah, here we go.
All right, can you hear that?
Hello?
Now I can hear everything. Yeah.
Great. The thing that I changed, I wonder if it's tied to another thing, but
We've got the best tick issues, don't we, folks?
I found I swapped two cables just now, and I think that might be what is causing our Skype channel issue.
Oh, where?
I think it was red and white and white instead of red and white and red and white.
Oh, interesting.
I don't entirely know, but that is something.
Huh.
It's a possibility. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tech Things.
But everyone can hear everyone else, right, Andrew?
Yes.
Good.
Good.
I'll keep talking until my echo goes away. Echo, go away.
Echo.
Hey, I
Hey.
still hear my stupid voice.
All right, give me one sec. Keep talking.
I'm gonna keep talking until. Where'd my voice go? I want it back now. I miss it.
Okay, we might be a little quiet on your end, so you may just want to goose your speakers a bit if it's too quiet for you.
Me? No, you're too loud. To be honest with you, I was maybe just gonna shut my computer off.
Well, don't do that. Do that in a couple hours. How's everybody doing? Happy Monday. We're on the other side of the South by Southwest, South by So Wasted, Night Attack Anal, Austin Night Attack Live 2017 Corner Hour.
I gotta play in the UCSB Experimental Cosmology Group Lab and melt stuff with lasers, so I'm really good.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Dude, awesome.
See, the only lasers they let me play with just point at stuff.
Make cats go crazy.
Yeah, I officially, when I was there this weekend, I just realized that like I'm in Austin a lot. Like it's gotten to the point where like, you know, if I didn't have the amazing hospitality of the Brushwoods, it
would be expensive.
Yeah, I want to like just be like you know, soft roommates with somebody. I would just be like,
What's up, American Ingenuity?
Wow. I just definitely saw a selfie stick used to adjust the camera.
Yeah.
nice.
It was awesome.
We got 4 people in the studio today, so there's not a lot of mobility.
Hey, speaking of which, we got the AC cranked up super high. Let me just grab a hoodie and then we could get started.
We should be on the other end of the selfie stick hate. I feel like we need to just be back at the like understanding that selfie sticks are a really cool invention.
Yeah, they're fine. They're fine.
They're fine.
Fine. This one was like.
Well, they're cheap.
Yeah,
they're
this
kind
was
of ingenious.
like 15
right?
bucks.
They don't
It's
take
got
batteries.
Bluetooth. This one does. This is a Bluetooth one because I'm living in a digital, cordless future. Thank you.
Oh.
Well, that was an ironic.
Oh, so that's a Bluetooth selfie stick. See, that's now we've gone too far.
But it's a fun little thing, you know. I was using it to get some really good angles during the South by. Boy, I'll tell you what, we got a good stream, but some of that video we got ended up looking like poop.
Oh, what happened?
Well, it's because it's recording video through the Periscope app, and so the Periscope app records it while it streams it, but then it compresses it when it's done. So, so I'm fighting with it a little bit. But we also had a camera, a good camera going on, so you know, we get some good pixels.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I hope it seemed like I thought the lighting was going to be a disaster, but it seems like it might have actually been better at night than it was during the day when everything was like insanely backlit, right?
Yeah, and I'll go in and lighten some of that stuff up because it's better than being super backlit, but it certainly wasn't perfect.
Oh God, no, yeah.
But the audio came out great. I was telling you all about all those different buses.
Mm-hmm.
We have super clean, really it's multi-channel audio. So we have y'all on one, we got the instruments on another, the singers on another. It's great. I love it.
Wow.
I love that mixer.
Right on.
All right. Hey, who wants to get weird? None of the hosts of the show. Cool.
Nah, man, I'm ready to roll, baby.
Andrew,
I'm ready to get with weird.
Actually, psych, I'm not. I'm gonna get a glass of water. No.
This is why we can't have weird things.
Apparently the answer was no. I got the stuff that you sent me, Brian.
Yeah, those are just some rando suggestions that ran across. One of them, I think, is very likely total bullshit, but I figured that would be interesting to talk about, too.
Okay. Oh, you sent it to everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Brian sent along a couple links earlier this morning.
Oh, Brian thinks he can send stuff.
Yeah.
I'm helping. I sent, did you see those articles that I sent over this morning?
No. I mean, was I awake? Probably not. Let me see. Oh, it's Brian. I just thought, Brian's trying to sell me some keychain that, stabs people and picks locks.
Actually,
it's
a little too close to home there.
I mean, I was going to buy it.
Speaking of which, is Illusion XX shipping yet? I haven't gotten mine.
Becoming?
Whoa!
It is been shipping as I've been getting them in from my printer.
Oh, got it.
Nice.
So that's totally why you haven't got yours yet.
Not because he actively said no to your order. No orders may go out. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I switched
So-
chairs.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm trying to, I've realized that between this chair and my bed is what's bringing me all these back problems. Because when I am I've had the opportunity to sleep in 7 different beds over the past 2 weeks, 0 problems. So I feel like I've isolated it.
Very cool. All right, well, let's do the Weird Things show, huh?
Yeah.
Take it away, Andrew, in 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood,
Hello.
Justin Robert Young.
Yo, folks. Who got to melt things with lasers this weekend?
Yeah,
Not me.
that's a common way people introduce things and just kick it off. I didn't melt anything with lasers either.
Well, technically, I was actually welding asteroid analogs with the laser because I may have been, hanging out with the people working on the technology behind Project Starshot, where they want to use lasers to propel things to the next star system. And one of the things they're using too is lasers to deflect asteroids and to, do that kind of thing. And they're showing me their test model. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm more into let's take asteroids and build giant space habitats. Could you actually weld an asteroid with these things? And one of the researchers is like, yeah. Jonathan says yeah, let's try it. And 10 minutes later, we've all got our super thick laser goggles on and a high energy laser melting pieces of rock together. So
wait a minute. You're telling me that not only did you get to see this in action, it was based on a experiment that you flippantly just kind of threw out there to the space laser people?
I was throwing so many dumb ideas out there at them. They were kind of like, all right, we should just probably do one thing to make them happy. So
give the baby his bottle. Let's melt an asteroid.
So I'm gonna back up with a story that's gonna go lead into this. All right.
Okay.
There are these things called FRBs, fast radio bursts. Fast radio bursts are very mysterious flashes of energy that we spot in the sky that we're not quite sure what they are, because the problem is if you look at the amount of energy that they have when it's called brightness temperature, it's 10 to the 37 degrees. It's not so much a matter of, how hot it really is, but the amount of energy coming from something, right? And the problem is that that's beyond anything that we can think of in cosmology. Pulsars, everything. It's just super, super, super intense. They sweep by, they flash. Maybe you see one again, but there's no real regular schedule to them. And they come from what appears to be outside our galaxy. So
wow.
It's one of those space is really scary and weird mysteries because we don't know, right? So some researchers have proposed, let's come up with something because in this day and age, nothing's too crazy or out there. What if you were to build a system that was going to reflect sunlight, or an energy system that was going to do a directed beam energy system and use it to move a spacecraft, not unlike what we've talked about before, the work of Project Starshot, which was based upon the UC Santa Barbara Professor Phil Lubin's work on using phased array lasers to propel things at very high speeds. And I have some interesting little details about that too, which hasn't been disclosed. Anyhow.
All right, well, hold on. Just pretend I know I get all everything you just said, but just poor Justin may not be caught up.
I'll tell you what, man, I'm dumber than a box of rocks set in slow motion.
So real quick,
dumb this one down for old Justin.
Project Starshot, to begin with, is a method of propulsion that uses lasers from Earth to propel something forward, right?
So what it was is there's a researcher, Dr. Phil Lubin at UC Santa Barbara, who's worked on NASA projects, and he proposed about 3 or 4 years ago, said, lasers have evolved to the point where we can make a very precise beam much further out than we could before. So if you aim that beam at, let's say, a 1 meter wide piece of reflective like a mirror, because you need to have 100% reflectivity, the photons hitting that would impart kinetic energy and move it. And if you built a big enough array, like a 100 gigawatt array, it could put something to 30% the speed of light.
Got it.
Okay. So Project Starshot was Yuri Milner, who's a Russian billionaire, and some other people said, hey, we love this, let's do this, and it kind of became this big initiative. It's based on Phil's work, but you hear Stephen Hawking's idea. Stephen Hawking's just a name they put on the letterhead because, he's awesome. But anyhow, Project Starshot's this initiative to try to make that happen. But any event, the idea is that if you use a bunch of lasers, reflect them off of a mirror, those little photons hitting the mirror and bouncing off will push that forward.
Okay, so and then separate vector, the other piece of the puzzle is we're seeing these fast radio bursts that are super intense from very, very far away. And am I hearing you right that you're conjecturing, what if those are bleed over from another craft being propelled around?
I'm not, but Lieb and Lingham, the researchers who've worked on this proposal, they've said, hey, what if it's something like that? What if it's like something outside of our galaxy where some aliens are using some sort of laser lighthouse thing to propel their rockets and push them further out there?
That would be intense. So, and I guess the reason that would make sense is because a gamma ray burst that happens when a star goes supernova. Like that's a lot of energy in all directions at once. These fast radio bursts, these are more energy than we would
Way
see.
more. Way more.
But
Like magnitudes of more energy.
Which would not make sense if it was going in all directions, but might
Correct.
make sense if it just happened, just like a laser light, like to get a single light bulb so bright it's blinding requires a lot more energy than to run a laser and just happen to zip it past your eye. That enough to flash
Which we would not recommend here on Weird Things, by the way.
Right,
No,
right,
do not.
right. But you know what? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're aliens trying to harass the planet Earth, just messing with people. It's a space toddler out there with a laser just going.
So the idea is that every now and then it just maybe they're not sending things, but I'll tell you what's kind of cool. So by the way, this is for our audio listeners. I'm showing a picture of just how bright, and that's it's like an infrared laser that we're looking at right there. That's melting rock, and then I'll show you a photo of some melty rock afterwards. And
Bryce, never mind. Dude, that looks awesome.
so the weld basically was like obsidian. Anyhow, so the researchers said with this energy, this much power going into it, they calculated the size of this at 1 million tons, roughly the weight of 20 large cruise ships.
Is what it would take to make what?
That's the size of the spacecraft heading towards us right now, Brian, to take us over and steal our women and
All
our
right.
Skittles.
How big? And our Skittles?
All right, now you've gone too far.
Ask him if they have
20
the power to make the green ones lime again.
Yeah, the size of 20 cruise ships.
20 cruise ships. Man, that's yeah.
We live in an interesting age now where you can write. There is, given that we find that life, the ingredients for life are abundant in the universe. We're finding that planets are just filled with planets. It's everywhere you look. Planets are boring now. Oh, we discovered a new planet. Oh, ooh, special, great. Oh, it could be Earth, could habit life. So what? That happens every week now. It feels like that, right?
Yeah.
We live in an exciting age. So now if you want to start saying like, well, maybe aliens, you're not going to be laughed out of academia. You're not going to be laughed away as researchers. These are these are Harvard researchers. These are people who are, serious academics are saying, hey, let's consider this. This is published in the Astrophysical Journal of Letters, right? So it's like, it's not this fringe sort of weekly world news thing. And they're not saying it's proof. They're saying, hey, let us consider this idea because we have a phenomenon with no good natural explanation. Maybe it is. And we're hearing more and more the idea of like Tabby Star, where they're talking about the idea of maybe it's an alien megastructure because we don't know what else is going on there.
Well, and it's tempting to just make aliens the catch-all, Deus ex machina of all solutions. But what I like about that kind of thinking is, in the 1970s, it's like we haven't heard anything that we understand, therefore there's no one out there. Whereas now it seems like the mentality is more, it's very likely that there are plenty of people out there. We're just too dumb to understand what we're supposed to be looking for. And then, which is one is a much more growth mindset than the other.
Or they're just nobody's talking. Because part of what SETI's based upon is that there could be thousands of civilizations out there, millions of civilizations. Maybe a couple of them are actually like at the same window we're around and actually trying to talk to us. Because everybody else is like, I don't really want company. I'm just gonna stay home tonight. It's gonna be awkward.
And when we do find the aliens, they're all wearing their sweatpants. They got a tub of ice cream.
Hey,
their hair's pulled up.
Yeah. What are you guys into right now? Oh, the selfie pictures and social media stuff. Yeah, I remember that. That was adorable. All right, hey now I'm gonna go. Help yourself.
Anyway, you guys, well, I'll see you later, right? Okay, bye.
Yeah. Wait. It's like you in school, like you have like the really boring kid that wants to hang out.
Yeah, that's
You're
us.
Yeah, that's pretty much who we are. No, that's
So
a good point.
with Project Starshot, is there any way to decelerate?
Yeah, well, so I was able to courtesy to some of the researchers and students who are working on the actual. They're not projects are involved, but that's an initiative. It's a bigger sort of initiative that's started, but hasn't actually done anything yet. But these people are actually doing research there, research over at UC Santa Barbara, and they've got some first-rate research going on there in a lot of different areas, photonics, et cetera, and all that. So Jonathan Majan, I can pronounce his name right. He was the one kind of guiding me around along with some other people who were working there, including the guy Nick, who's the guy who's actually making these wafer sats and stuff, which I'll talk about in a second. So I'm like, I'm pestering them with all of my little idiotic questions and stuff about what about this? What about this? Can they do this? What about this and stuff? And frequently Jonathan's having to text Professor Logan to ask my stupid questions because he's like, let me ask. And deceleration is a big problem because you're moving at 30% the speed of light, right? You're using this big, humongous array that takes 100 gigawatts of energy to propel you, and you're heading towards another star system. How would you slow down? You need roughly an equal amount of energy to slow you down, which is the challenge, right? So I threw out a number of suggestions. Because I know they're just waiting for me to
Exactly.
I was more,
we're just waiting for somebody on the tour to just kind of solve this problem here.
It's like 20, the size of 20 cruise ships. We need a former cruise ship magician to ask
guys,
questions.
I have the problem solved. I would say at 2 points that my questions were referred, and then response was yes. Professor Lubin actually has a paper he's working on describing that method. So
nice.
They weren't the dumbest things in the world yet.
Can he also use the invisible deck? I don't think so.
Yeah. Probably not. So that's one of the problems, and there are a lot of different. I don't want to tell anything out of school as far as what, because some of the stuff I said oh yeah, no, that's going to be doing a paper on that kind of thing. But you could try to find other ways to try to get energy from there. Like how would you, if you could use how maybe ways in which you could try to build an array there remotely to capture solar power, would have to be humongous and very, very large. One of the things that I sent them some papers on, which is interesting, is using electrodynamic tethers, which are pieces of wire that when they pass through magnetic fields, they generate energy. And, initially I'm like, well, if you're going past, a gas giant or a star, at 30% the speed of light, generate a lot of energy, but very briefly. But turns out, I found a paper that talked about there is actually a interstellar magnetic field between our star system, our sun, and several light years across from when an exploding star created this sort of gaseous sort of expansion, and we're in sort of a bubble with a different sort of density than other areas of the Milky Way. And in there's a magnetic field, and that actually may be an ambient way in which you could have a tether hanging and actually produce some sort of energy, right? So there's a lot of different interesting ideas, and they're doing cool stuff. They're also working on cosmic background radiation. They have a telescope they're going to be putting in Greenland to be able to detect, to kind of develop sort of a map of near-term stuff, so you can get better resolution for what's out there. They've been working. They have projects Deep In, and they have another project which is D-Star, which is using lasers to deflect asteroids. And they showed me some really cool video of a piece of rock on a little torsion balance or a pendulum, and the laser was getting it to spin.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh wow!
So the idea is just that we have lasers and asteroids headed to planet Earth. You zap the side of it so that it flares up and mass and energy is released and it propulses it out of the way.
Yeah, and one of the cool things too is that what can work too is that Jonathan showed me that if you impart it with a bit of spin, and then if you actually go to the website, you'll see this really cool graph which shows you that if you have this rock and you start spinning and you start heating up the middle of it, what'll happen is that its directional path isn't just going to be right away from where you're hitting it, is that it's going to keep sort of moving. You can do a lot of steering with it basically, which is pretty sweet.
Very cool.
So anyhow, the thing that I was asking was, I was asking about like what are the limits for this velocity? How fast could you propel something? Because I'm like, well, what if we put laser systems at a Lagrange point and we accelerated more, blah blah blah? And the answer back from Dr. Logan was your limit, your upper limit is the speed of light.
Wow.
And what's exciting about this is this method uses conventional technology. This is not an Alcubierre drive with, we put unicorn tears inside here and all of a sudden we get warp drive. This is not, we need to figure out how to build fusion so we can have a fusion rocket. This is, you get a couple $1 billion or a few $100 billion and we start building arrays. It is everything you need exists technology right now. It's an engineering problem. It's not a science problem. I mean, it's science, but it's not a physics problem. It doesn't mean we have to prove some theory is true or whatever. It's an engineering and economics problem, which means
I would imagine that when you get going, 30%, 50% the speed of light, space debris would be a bit of an issue. I mean, do we know for sure that all that space is empty space?
No, we don't. And so that's one of the challenges they have to figure out is part of what they're doing is they're trying to reduce the size of the spacecraft itself to an extremely small thing. They want to put the entire probe onto, a little chip that's 7 microns across, just ridiculously small, right? They want to try to reduce the size of that to an extremely small thing and then redundancy. And so what you would do is maybe you would send it edge on. The thing would start to propel, and so it would have the thinnest edge there. And you'd be sending, you accelerate this thing for 3 minutes, right? Like 3 minutes and you're at 30% the velocity, speed of light, right?
Oh,
or 30 or 20 minutes, right? That's how long the laser's on. So you could send, if you're doing, you could be sending tens of thousands of these probes and hope that not all of them get hit. And you could maybe send one probe ahead, another one right behind it and whatever, and use deflection. There's a lot of different, we just need to start building these things.
Wow. And really the only thing that is stopping us is money and physically building them, right? And putting them into space. We have and Dr. Lubin's got papers that talk about there are a lot of ideas on how to slow things down. This is a technology that can scale if you have more energy and, more energy than we can produce right now, but not to say not more than 20 or 30 years from now. Right now with places like SpaceX building gigafactories and our energy requirements have been pretty just logarithmic increasing. But if we started to say, let's really try to figure out how to produce more energy, the energy problem, these things could be solved. We could be an interstellar civilization within the next several decades, literally sending probes and starting to put satellites and stuff around other stars. And like I said, the speed limit isn't 30%, which was the thing that was in the paper that he did for the NASA paper. Mm-hmm. Speed limit is speed of light. So we could be sending stuff to Proxima B. We could get it there in 4 years, within our lifetimes. Wow. We could be getting stuff there.
That's extraordinary. That would be a thing. So, how was it that you came to be hanging out with these guys?
I have a friend that's really active in the space community who introduced me to another person who's connected to that. And then it started with me going on a tour of X Prize. And then SpaceX with some of the people working on this, and just conversation. And I didn't know I was going to be on the tour with them, and then they found out I was like a fanboy of their work. I knew exactly what they're doing, knew the papers and stuff, which was sort of surprising for them, And then just got to talking, and then brought a group of them to the Magic Castle, and just hung out and got along. Just had a lot of fun talking about this stuff because I'm not in the lab working in the way they are. I'm just an outsider who follows this stuff and a lot of related stuff. So I'm asking interesting but dumb questions. So
yeah,
interestingly stupid.
Yeah,
questions. Yeah. Like a bottle rocket without the stem. It might hit something interesting, but it'll be curious.
Yeah, it's like that's not at all how that works. But yeah. So.
I'll tell you what, everybody, you can support how this show works if you go ahead and support us at patreon.com/nightattack. Patreon.com/. At least I didn't say 1-900 wrestling. Patreon.com/weirdthings. That is where you support this show. We depend on you guys to do this every single week. We greatly appreciate you. And right now, 404 patrons. You can be the one that makes sure that these patrons are found and indeed are not an error 404. Thank you to everybody who does it. And we are very, very excited to continue rocking and rolling with this show.
It is super, super appreciated, guys and girls and cis goblins, that your support for what we're able to do here. It does mean a lot to us. It is encouraging is to know that there are people who care about this and wanted to keep going and help support gas money to go to UC Santa Barbara, which I'll be going back there this week for a project. Listen, I got we had a little topic thingy came in. There were two topics. Brian sent in. You sent anything about that? One of the developers of lithium-ion batteries says he's got a new battery technology. There is a very funny like Elon Musk-ism when people ask him about new battery technologies, and he has this sort of thing. Well, we have a chart where we keep track of them, because every week somebody says this, but when it leaves the lab, that's when we're interested in it. But it's a very interesting thing because it keeps coming back to, like with battery technology, is we've had when we talk about lithium ion, we tend to think that lithium ion kind of batteries are all sort of the same, but lithium just literally means that that's just one aspect to it, and kind of most batteries involve ions in some sort of aspect. But the chemistries of these have been changing dramatically. You think about what the density of what the power you got out of a battery today versus what you got out 10 years ago has increased a lot, but it's not as much as the rate we see with microprocessors. So
yeah,
but it's a very interesting thing. So this battery I'm looking at says it's going to have like maybe 3 times the density of today's batteries.
Yeah, specifically, and keep in mind this comes from the lab of this is at the University of Texas. This is from the guy who created the original lithium-ion batteries. His team is now 94 years old, and his team basically identified like one of the problems with batteries is that they use liquids as the electrolyte, as the conductive, the ways that the ions go from one anode to the anode diode. I don't know how all that works, but the core of this idea is that they've got glass electrolytes. So instead of two metals being suspended in a liquid, which if it ruptures and apparently over time there's microfractures that increase the possibility of combustion. But by having a glass-based an anode and a cathode, that's what it is. Yeah, a diode. But by having a glass electrolyte as the suspension medium, you have basically a single solid-state battery that they're claiming could be 3 times as powerful and charge much quicker and be much more secure and safer. But we've talked a lot on the show before about how it's the problem with wind and solar and all that is not with our ability to capture energy from them. It's the fact that we just don't have a storage medium that works long term.
We ain't got a big enough bucket.
That's right.
Just spilling all over the place.
So it's we're gonna see something because like they've got like there's aluminum air batteries is another approach to try to solve this problem and it's we're going through where I was over at UC Santa Barbara. They've got one of the things they're one of the leading centers in the world, like one of 2 for trying to figure out how to integrate photonics on semiconductors. So if you want to get into like doing things with lasers and light and eventually light computing, using light to do computations and stuff, and then you're still working with silicon, and silicon is not really a good conductor of light. You got to integrate those things there. But talking to some of the people there, as I went to some of the other labs, and literally a guy pulls a case out, and like shows me like the small box the size of a paperback book. It's like, yeah, it's a $60,000 laser I just got.
Wow.
And it's got and you understand like this, it looks like this box. It's like, where's the grip? Where's the stun setting? And it's got like looks like a serial port there, and it's got these 2 like valves on the end, like two entrance, like two holes in it. That's for the water pump to keep the thing from frying. But long story short is that there's a problem. It's like you can have a lot of great ideas in these labs they talk about, but it's like trying to figure out how to get that and make it scale for manufacturing. How do you actually figure out how do you make this thing in bulk? And you could have the best idea in the world, but it's like, getting that cost down to compete with conventional methods can be a challenge. But we're going to get there, and it may be this. Maybe this. I mean, this guy probably knows about batteries.
I think he's probably got a fairly good idea.
Is it because he's getting old and he's like, there's a remote control battery. I got to go into the kitchen and get a new one. What if?
Yeah, well, and of course this is he's the leader of the research team, but it's not just
everyone on his research team is 94 years old, right?
Exactly. Although that would be great if his entire team was also 94 years old. And it turns out that this is just a press release from a nursing home. And it's this bridge
already
group.
making the movie.
Everyone's just remembering World War II and, just hanging out, talking about batteries.
So, gentlemen, speaking of longevity and stuff, how would you like it if I had you guys frozen and then revived you later? We all up with that?
Man, that's that really brings the cost to bear for time travel, right? Because you're definitely just out of the mix for a while there.
Well, and also in this scenario, how safe are we assuming this is? Is there any risk?
I mean, Brian, getting into an Uber has risk.
Okay, all right.
That's why they banned him in Austin.
That's right. They're too risky.
Yeah. I like to just, there's always risk. 1 second.
That's
there's a risk of this podcast going on without somebody knocking on Andrew's door.
It's the FBI like asking him why. It's like, are you giving up all our secrets?
I heard you were talking about them lasers.
Yeah. Right. So
We could just wait for Andrew to get back.
how you doing, Justin?
Oh man, I'm doing great. Had a nice little flight. Got back and lazy morning. I'm not a fan of this time change. I'm just gonna go ahead on the record, and I'm gonna 1 star on Yelp this time change. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Controversial take.
I know I like to shoot flames when it comes to my takes, and this one is piping, singeing. I'm not a fan.
Is that going to be the topic for...
How about you spring forward into a ravine?
Jeez.
I changed.
Wait. W-I-L-I-E-W-A-D-E. All right, say that again.
I'm going to mute that channel just in case something he's talking about is not...
It's like
So my social security number is...
Hey, since we're going to edit this out, can you turn yourself up a little bit, Justin? Can you send your goose?
Check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Great. Sounds good. Hi, everybody.
Hey, what's that? What was that? What was that? There, the mixer thing, the digital mixer thing that he was.
Oh, the Boston Posse got a new digital mixer. It's a Behringer X-Air X18. Behringer X-Air X18. It's only $600, which blew my mind. Because everybody I talked to and my initial thoughts were like, "Oh, this is like $1,500."
Oh wow, I'm actually seeing it as low as $400.
Yeah, and the posse got it open box.
Yeah.
So that was all of my Illusion Double X books arriving. So that was what I had.
Gotcha.
Those at the door, and that's my super friendly UPS man Willie, who I gave a copy of Angel Killer to. So
Nice.
sorry about that. I know how unprofessional. But
We'll just cut in. We can
That's
just
all right.
cut
We're
back
Hey, you want to get weird?
Let's go.
All right.
I didn't know what's the polite way to say I'm in the middle of a podcast. Can we just put these on the floor?
Yeah, and then you have to explain what a podcast is.
Well,
and
he's a
RSS
super
feeds.
cool guy. He was very excited about the fact that I wrote books because he's used to just like delivering my pop-up books. He's like, "You write books?" I'm like, "Oh yeah," and I show him this big huge stack of all my Damage Delusion Double X books. He's
Yeah.
like, "You wrote that?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah." Like, do you like books? Like, yeah. And so I was signing him a copy of Angel Killer.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so when we went to the edit point, you were saying
I think we should leave this all in.
we were talking about risk.
So, Brian, risk. I like the fact with you. I'm like, well, everything has risk, and you almost just flipped the bit. You're like, oh no, that's a true point. So I'm okay.
Well, my point is, like, I just don't know. Yes, I would be interested, but not today. Like, there's nobody who has any technology that is remotely safe enough to do it today. So I don't know if this is in a different scenario where it is possible or what. Like, I mean, granted, I want to live as long as possible, just because, you know, we're all linking a chain in this amazing story of humanity, and I want to know as close to the end as I can get. And if that means, you know, later on, when, you know, peace out, yeah, I'll freeze. Why?
Brian just wants to just run through the movie theater of life and take a peek into all the other movies and see how they end, but not sit down and watch them.
That's accurate. Yeah.
So the problem is
Guilty as charged, officer.
the problem is that if we're pretty good at like freezing stuff now. We can flash freeze tissue, organs, things like that. We can flash freeze them like, good, it's frozen, it's good, looks good, stable, all right, put it on ice, save it for later. Problem is when you want to defrost it. Once you start to defrost, little ice crystals start to form, they start to burst and make it taste terrible or make it really bad for trying to transplant this organ or whatever. That's been one of the biggest problems in trying to like do cryopreservation. Well, some researchers say they've solved this problem or maybe onto the solution for this problem. And they have a new method that they say that they can use to defrost tissue, even large tissue samples, and it doesn't produce the ice crystals. It doesn't damage. They say they can do this and defrost it without doing this, and we get the coolest phrase of the day, nano warming.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, the ice crystals form during the thawing process. I did not know that. I thought the freezing was when we ran into trouble, but I guess if you flash freeze it fast enough, it's kind of like super cooled, basically.
Correct. You bypass that, but the problem is as you're cooling it back down, ice crystals can form and rupture, right?
Warming it back up, yeah.
You know, as you're doing that temperature variation, whatever, so they start to form. So they have a thing called nano warming, where basically they put nanoparticles inside of the medium, and then they use, I assume, you know, an electrical field to then heat it up. The researchers mix silica-coated iron oxide nanoparticles into a solution and generate a uniform heat by applying an external magnetic field. And so basically they're able to sort of just, you know, heat it up from the inside.
Oh, wow. So, I guess like, so it's not so much the warming itself, but the unevenness and the speed of the warming?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's exactly it.
That is awesome.
So they used a combination of human and pig samples up to 50 milliliters, which 50 milliliters I think is about the size of, like about almost 2 ounces. Or 50 milliliters is about a quarter cup.
That's tremendous. Now, because you realize there's so many different things that means, not just for, freezing heads of people dying and whatever, but like this means theoretically an organ bank could be a true bank. Like just everybody puts their organs up, and then you separate them all, and then they sit on the shelf for 20 years, and then finally the right match for the right person at the right time happens. And
that's
they're able to get
exactly the goal. That is precisely what their justification for this is. They talk about something about 20 people die a day because you can't get them organs in time. 22 people die each day in average while waiting for an organ transplant. And one of the biggest problems isn't shortage, it's that organs can't stay in ice longer than a few hours without being irrevocably damaged, which was the premise for a movie that Justin helped me make back in the day.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. No, there was. I mean, I don't know how much we want to draw a heat to it, but I love that was a great idea.
Was that the puppet one?
Oh no, this was way back when Justin was high school and I was recruiting, high school students to work on my projects, which didn't sound as sinister then as it does now. We made an action movie about a guy trying to rush an organ for a mob boss from like Fort Lauderdale to Miami, and it was got into film festival. It was a crappy movie, but it was fun to make.
Oh, that's great.
It was great. Oh no, yeah, it's a feature length action movie wherein I play I think 2 parts. I think I'm in there. I'm in there a couple times, couple extra roles, but you can find me as in the role of porn boy.
I forgot what that was.
Yeah, my role, my largest credited role to date is porn boy in the independent action classic. I don't know. Do you want me to say the name or?
Yeah, it's not. Nobody can find it, so it doesn't matter.
Full motion blur.
Yeah, so I think it was like some gangsters stop you at some point, grab your backpack, and then it's like you just got whack bags and.
Yeah, they think that I am the guy carrying the heart, and lo and behold, I am just a random kid with a backpack full of porn.
That's amazing.
Which you showed up on set with, and you already had it, so it was great.
I mean, hey, listen, live the gimmick, baby. I'm a method actor.
Anyhow, so cryogenically warming up organs. Maybe that's getting better there, and so looking good. Random trip down nostalgia lane. Hey, I have an idea for all guys. I want you to do homework assignments.
Uh-oh.
I want you to look up like interesting family histories and stuff. You're like, okay, what's a cool sort of like family folk story or thing like that you wish you knew if was true or not?
In my family, the legend was that brushwood was the name for a tribe called the Brushwoodsmen that were a tribe of bandits. And the legend was they were just like Robin Hood, except for they robbed from the rich and the poor, and they kept it. But,
I believe this.
I want for that to be true because that's a great story, but I don't know. So they were ancient rogues, basically. Yeah.
The murdering kind.
I'm an ancient rogue.
I'm looking up Brushwoodsman now.
My grandfather apparently was a like small-time boxer of some renown. So that would probably be the big thing that I would be curious to see exactly what that was and how much that played out. Because in my family lore, he was just this super famous old boxer.
I'm actually looking up Brushwoodsman right now because I do believe that. So what was the level of boxing that he did, Justin? Do you know?
It was regional. It was regional in the I guess it would be the eastern Pennsylvania area, but apparently he had some skills with his hands. But I don't know. I kind of feel like it's probably one of those things where he trained once. He went to he got a Groupon for like one boxing training thing, and it turned into this family legend.
Did he have like a cool name? The Yelling Young?
We never got that, which makes me think that he didn't really do it a lot. But it was just like, I don't know. It's part of, because he was an orphan, like he was brought up through an orphanage, and like so it very much leads to the hard scrabble. And also it was back when people were racist to Italians, so it's like, it's just semi-immigrant tale orphanage, like I'll make my way with my fists, like kind of story. So it's
I'll
almost
punch my way to the top.
Yeah.
I mean, my family, I have family that goes back to Indiana, into the small town where Abraham Lincoln used to live. And there's a store that he used to work at. It's in Gentryville. And it's like my family, I have way back, I have Harders and Gentrys. And there's like I went to the cemetery when my grandmother passed away, and it's just Harder Gentry, which Harder's my family name. And but the story was I had like a great grandmother who Abraham Lincoln worked in the family store, and he'd asked her out, and she thought he was too homely.
Oh, wow.
And then there's a story about Abraham Lincoln wrote a poem about a guy who got, I forget, like river disease or whatever, and then went nuts or whatever. And that's like one of my family members. So that's like my family's brush with greatness. You're too ugly, then we go insane. So
that's great.
But imagine like, I don't know, like you're given an assignment, like, hey, you're going to study. Hey, Daniel, you're going to go study World War II. Okay. And, you're living in, Denmark or whatever. And your dad's like, oh, you should go check out, remember there's a story about a German plane that crashed on our farm. What? You're 14 and you're like, German plane crashed on our farm in World War II? Like, all right, Dad, let's go get the metal detectors because we're in Denmark. What else are we going to do? And sure enough, you're going around the farm with the metal detectors. You start to get a ping, 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 ping.
No way.
And then you start to find metal shards and more pieces and more pieces. And then you're going through this boggy ground and you start to dig and you end up using an excavator. And the next thing you know is you're finding bigger chunks, several thousand pieces, a motor, and then you're finding bones and clothes.
Oh, wow.
It was a ME 109 Messerschmitt engine, munitions, and some personal items like the pilot's wallet with some money still inside, and a book suspected of either being the Bible or a copy of Mein Kampf. It's easy
one
to
or the
confuse
other.
the two.
Wow.
601. Jesus, that is amazing. That is yeah. I mean, and you got to figure like, what are the ramifications of that? Like, do you now alert the family of that pilot, right? Like, and be like, oh, well, this is where they die. I mean, like, there's got to be a family in Germany that obviously under ignominious means that they never knew what happened to Grandpa.
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, they probably knew that he'd crashed, but I think they never got the remains. I'm sure. Yeah, they're processing by that of repatriating remains and helping do that, and putting them final resting places and stuff. So I'm absolutely sure they did. The fact they found the wallet and stuff too. I mean, that's just kind of amazing that out there on the farm, this old German plane.
Well, and I guess they were pretty confident of it because, like, the kid, obviously, it's folklore and legend by that point, but the parents probably grew up, like being able to see it.
Yeah, the grandfather had, had details to it, but said, "Oh, they hauled it away" or something to that effect. And so I guess it was sort of based upon the Klaus remembered his grandfather telling him the plane had crashed there during the war, but the plane was removed soon afterwards. And what might have happened too is that like it may have crashed, and then they went and authorities looked for munitions and stuff initially, which is what they did the second time. Is you want to make sure there's no bombs there that are just waiting for somebody to just sort of trip, cow to trip over and get blown up.
Yeah. Did you hear the story of, I want to say it's a Chinese man. He had been using his walnut cracker for
Jesus.
His entire life and found out that it was an unfired grenade from World War II. After 25 years, Chinese man discovers his walnut cracker is actually a grenade.
Well, fired grenades make much worse walnut crackers, Brian. You get like one good walnut smash, and then it's.
But if you look at it, it's that old type, like a handle with a thing on top. So it looks like it's meant to crack walnuts. I mean, here, take a look at this.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that looks like a pestle. I mean, that looks like it's just. Does not look like a pineapple grenade. That just looks like a walnut cracker. I have two favorite grenade stories.
As one does.
One is I had a friend whose father was in Vietnam, and he was talked about how they were hanging around the barracks or whatever like that, and everybody started to freak out and run, and he looks over and he sees that a little monkey had gotten hold of a grenade.
Oh my gosh.
And was carrying this thing around because he thought it was fruit or whatever like that, and nobody wanted to take one for the team and tackle the monkey. So that was, I guess the monkey eventually got bored with it, but that's, nothing more hilarious than a monkey with a grenade. And,
Oh yeah.
And then I had a friend, she's a costumer who worked with me on a project, and she was friends with Steve McQueen's kids.
Wow.
Right? And said that when they were kids, they were hanging out one day, and I don't know if they're in the living room or whatever, and Steve McQueen had like this grenade he kept on his desk, and he runs in and he goes, "Watch out!" throws the grenade in the middle of the kids, and he dies behind a couch or whatever like that, and they all just scream and scatter.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's like,
That's amazing.
I'm talking about an awesome Steve McQueen story.
Whoops.
He was just that cool.
That old
And it was a
one.
real grenade.
Stand for the youngins.
I think we're going to have to punt Journey Quest to next week, which is good because I think we need a little bit of a breather. And also, like, maybe we need a Logan discussion.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You Logan discussion. All right. So then, do we want to
By
go?
the way, did I already? I don't know if I already shared the text that you sent. Do we talk about it last week?
All right, we're getting spoiler territory now, right?
To see it, yeah.
Okay. Well, Andrew Main, first of all, review.
You saw it, right, Justin?
He texted me saying, "Saw Logan. What a waste of 2 hours." And then I wrote, "You are a monster." And then he responds, ... is how I describe every 2 hour block of time I spent not watching that movie. Yeah, dude. Let's get spoilery.
Well, here, do we want to do picks and then do that, or do we want to make it on after things? Like, how do we want to handle?
Oh, whatever. I was assuming maybe all of our picks would have been Logan, but no, go for a pick if you have a specific pick. Please.
Sure. Yeah. No. I'll pick Logan. Yeah. So our picks are Logan. So now we begins the end of the show where we're going to talk about Logan. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then this is the point that you can tap out.
Oh yeah, and I do have a pick, a plug.
Okay. Well, then get the plug out now.
Okay. I've started a new podcast project, and what it is, it's kind of like it's called Magic Club, and Magic Club is it's a weekly magic news show, and talk about magic news, magic business, what's going on in there. So you can go to magicclub.tv and you get the links there, and I do it with my buddy Jordan Gold, who's a fantastic magician, a lot of nice info on there. We have a second part, a companion part, which is a session where we take, let's say, a move, like a piece of, some great sleight of hand bit of magic or whatever, and then we break that down in a thing. If you do the Patreon, then you can access that, where you get this session where might be just Jordan teaching me something. We had Blake Voigt was on, taught something really cool, Simon Cornell. If you want to learn magic in sort of a more kind of a leisurely sort of like sit down with some magicians as they're working on a move or teaching you some new effect or whatever like that, highly recommend Scam School. But if you want to get a little more into like just sort of like, hey, I want to learn how to do this a one-handed top palm. Like, what is that? We'll show you. You'll get to learn that, some cool color changes, some awesome rubber band stuff. So we wanted to recreate the experience of when you're with your magic buddies sitting at a table at a restaurant late at night, sharing magic stuff. And, hey, let me show you this. Let me show you that. So Magic Club's the fun news, what's going on in the world part. And then the second part, the secret session, which is accessible through the Patreon. That's where you spend the time with us and we work on some move and session. So magicclub.tv.
This is a brilliant idea. I'm so excited that you guys are doing it. Not only because I think you and Jordan have a great chemistry, but also the world has kind of needed a show like this, and nobody has thought, hey, let's do the podcast and then also do the instructional element. Like there is so much rad stuff that you guys can go over, and based on the fact that you're in LA and you are around all the amazing community that's between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. There's so many amazing, talented magicians that you guys are regularly in contact with. If you have any interest, I would say, number one, listen, and especially if you are a magician, that is a no-brainer Patreon subscription. You are going to get so much out of that.
And we want it to be very accessible. If you have an interest in it, but you're like, well, I don't really know science or stuff like that, but I'm curious, we think you'll enjoy it. And we like a lot of the stuff that we work on, I've never tried before. And so I'm like, oh, this is really cool, or this is neat. And then it's just a fun way to sort of experience that. But of course, it's funny, as you mentioned, we're local. We have all these great magicians here. Our first guest was our buddy Simon Coronel, who was doing it from Macau. So it was great access, but we're going to Skype with the guy at the House of Magic in Macau and talk with him and that. So there you go. Magic Club. MagicClub.tv. Sign up for the YouTube channel. I think I need like 10 or 15 more people, and then I can get a channel name other than a long string of weird letters and stuff. So.
Oh, nice. All right. Yeah. So everybody go.
Yep. All right. What's next?
All right. Any plugs, Brian?
Nah. Let's Logan it up.
All right. Logan spoiler begins now.
Spoiler. It's great.
Yep.
And we're done, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, I took Justin to go see it while he was in town over this last week. I'm so glad that both you guys enjoyed it. Talk me through it. What did you like about it?
There was this guy with these claws, and like they were cool. I liked it because one is that just getting Steven Spielberg made a comment where he's like he thought that like the superhero movie was going to fade away like the Western, and I in all deference to Mr. Spielberg, I was thinking like I think that if you have a very narrow idea of what a superhero movie, that is true, but I would argue that James Bond movies are superhero movies. The Fast and the Furious are superhero movies. That we've had superhero movies forever, and they've always been around. The superhero movie where it's the people in costumes teaming up to defeat the big sky beam in the middle of the city is the thing. The poor, yes, that movie about the 6th or 7th time Marvel does that movie maybe needs to have disruption. But we're seeing, this outward growth of like Guardians of the Galaxy. Hey, let's do like really cool big science fiction adventure stuff. It's a superhero movie because these guys started in Marvel Comics, but if it had been a script or a screenplay, you wouldn't have called that a superhero movie. Mm-hmm. And with Logan the plot is very, very clear. It's a very direct, clear. Get this person to safety. Get this person to safety. That's the main plot, the driver for the plot. But it's like, hey, we're watching Wolverine as he's older. You're watching this guy that his powers are starting to fade, and he becomes more interesting because he's not automatically going. He can be taken down by 6 or 7 other people at this point, and that makes him more vulnerable. The opening scene where wakes up in the limousine, and he realizes they're trying to steal the wheels of the car, and he's trying to save this limo because he needs it to make money to get the Sunseeker to take the professor to safety or whatever. And he decides to use his own body to protect the car.
Because it's a lease. Because that's how down on his luck he is.
And he doesn't want to kill these guys. He's like, no, like it's just like you're stripping the nuts, just go away. And they're like, we're gonna shoot you, and you don't shoot Wolverine. That's not really good. And that was it was a great I could watch a Marvel Comics, Marvel Netflix series about that Wolverine at that point in his life where he's working as a limo driver, in LA or in Las Vegas or whatever in Texas. That alone to me is just fascinating. This guy at this point in his life.
Yeah. So the first time I watched it, I didn't realize that I didn't put it together until like the next day that oh wait, this is just a straight up Western. And in fact, watching it the second time, it's like they beat you over the head with that imagery. It's like, here's a locomotive. We're out in the, West Texas town of El Paso. Well, also, we're following the exact journey of Lonesome Dove from south of the border up to the Canadian border. And it's like, okay, I'm dumb.
Well, I don't think they were trying to do Lonesome Dove. That's my opinion.
No, well, I mean, but again, just there. Once you start looking for parallels, there's
but I mean, the obvious one clearly because they watch Shane, and then when they bury Wolverine, she recites the lines from Shane. She's repeating what she saw from Shane. Which was a, kind of if you're like, and if you love the movie like Shane, like I did, you're watching this going, ooh, this is going to get heavy, Yeah. Man, we talked about too, like how they did Professor Brian. You pointed out like with making the Professor X the freezing brain power thing. unpleasant.
Oh yeah, like in the theater, it was not only unpleasant for the characters on screen, the sound effect was just loud enough and just grating enough that it's like as Wolverine is going to try to stop the seizure, it's just like, yeah, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. It was great. It was great.
Such a
So I got to see this movie within 24 hours of seeing X-Men Apocalypse on the plane flight to Austin. And it really brought up just why X-Men stories are good, how they can be done extraordinarily terrible. And, to me, the most interesting kind of decision that was made is to make X-23, which, is, let's be honest, in the comics is kind of there. She's popular because she's Wolverine, but a cute girl, right? Like there's other interesting elements of the character, but as a base conceit, that's who she is. To make her the age that she is, I think was just brilliant and inspired, and just gives you fresh ground emotionally to play with for all the characters involved that we already kind of know. Even Caliban is a character in both films, and in one he's this generic crappy like arms dealer mutant, and in another one through Stephen Merchant he is this kind of viable element of the story that has an interaction that feels real with all the other characters. This is just, it felt refreshing. Like it just felt like you remembered why X-Men stories in movies are awesome, not just so you could run through this catalog of wouldn't it be cool if this hero power matched up with this hero power, but rather like, oh look, these are really good actors, and let's give them something to chew on while we run through this story that is well done, but at the same time doesn't spare you from the most it's a movie that deserves credit for the emotional grounding that it gives its characters, but still has Wolverine fight a Wolverine clone, which might be the most gratuitous X-Men-y kind of fight that you could possibly dream up, but they make it work.
Yeah, I would argue that if you took away the powers and it was about an aging hitman or whatever, people would be doing Oscar talk, because the Patrick Stewart performances in it were fantastic. Hugh Jackman plays, he is a very unlikable guy in this, singly focused, whatever, but he is very, as Brian points out, just very classic Western, redeems himself, the anti-hero, it's not the cowboy with the white hat, it's kind of the gray hat guy that just really does not want to get involved for most of the movie, so reluctant to have to do anything.
And is constantly looking for a reason to bag on the mission,
Yep.
If he doesn't pass out effectively behind the wheel, he's in the process of breaking it to X-23 that hey, look, this isn't a thing. We're just going to not do this thing that we're talking about. And then, it winds up going in the direction that it goes.
Killer performance from that little girl actress.
Daphne Keane, I think that's her name. Yeah, she was great. She was just feral, believable, really, really good, doesn't speak for most of the film, but still conveys a lot. And just a great, and you think about, here's a girl that's got to be put in, in scenes with, just three people. The other two is Patrick Stewart and it's Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's right. She holds her weight. She goes toe to toe with two legends and does just fine.
She's got that that's one of the things too, is you think about the casting, how often kid casting just goes wrong, and she was perfect. It's like Stranger Things and other stuff. Every now and then you go Harry Potter, you're like, man, that was brilliant casting. And you watch other movies and just how easily it could have been just to screw that up.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I think that there are moments where, the moment that you get the dinner, is one where it's you kind of know there's this tension that things are going to go awry for not only our characters but also the family, and you're okay. I think this is the point in the story where we get this, but I mean, even then, it's always it's an inspired Wolverine performance. Which, I mean, Jesus, when's even the last time we had that? Like,
I didn't like the previous two Mangold films, and that he did this. He knocked this out of the park. It was amazing.
Yeah, how much of that you think is a matter of being limited by studio requirements and licensing deals, and it's like, no, you've got to do it this way, and also rating requirements where you've got to trying to hit that PG-13 mark. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have an answer either, because I think he has done some solid stuff, but I would say there were some choices made in those other Wolverine movies. I'm like, you thought that looked good? You thought that looked, like, we're going to go for more believable. Now, here's the scene where he attacks the helicopter with the Wolverine claws. They're like,
yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it's hard to know. But here, I mean, I'm excited by the fact that, last year with Deadpool being, doing fantastic. Logan so far, its domestics to $152 million. That had a $97 million production budget, which is much smaller than most of these things, but it's been a far more satisfying, far more highly rated one. I am just excited about the idea of people going, a superhero genre can be a lot of different things, and it can be a Western, it can be these other things, it can be these character dramas. It doesn't have to be we saved the world from the skybeam thing.
Right. Yeah.
Which, it's just like,
So, isn't it kind of a bummer that this is it? Like, that's like, oh no, wait, you just started making the Wolverine movies that we kind of like. It's like, yep, and that's it. Anyway, I'm out the door.
Does it? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this was not the last we saw of it, but if it is, this is the best way to end.
Well, it's set in the future too. It's set in the future.
Yeah.
So they have a backdoor. Simon Kinberg says that who's basically kind of the producer, sort of kind of overseeing the franchise, and has written a number of them, including Apocalypse, but didn't write this one. He says that he has a way to sort of tie them all together in a way that makes sense. And I don't know.
I don't understand the obsession of having everything be consistent. The comics have always been this web of splinter timelines and alternate realities, and they're like Hercules stories. You get enough of them that you can't string them all in one narrative that makes any sense. So I in that regard, I'm not terribly worried. They could just suddenly Wolverine's in space, and I'm like, all right, I'll buy it. Go.
Yeah, I think you could do like in the Old Man Logan stories, where it starts off with the early history of Logan, of to kind of giving us a much better, like, Logan as a kid, Logan way back when he was, in
the 1800s or whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of like, hey, that's could be a very, very cool premise to kind of explore and get into. I mean that's. And I'm fine, like, cast somebody else as Hugh Jackman then. I mean, as Wolverine,
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. It was just, holy crap, watching Apocalypse. It's just like, this movie's so all over the place and so boring and so, just the decisions made, to put Oscar Isaac in this gigantic Barney suit for half the movie. It's an hour in before any kind of battle lines are drawn. They spend half the rest of the movie doing these like fairly pointless like mini origin stories for everybody. It's just, it especially in contrast to Logan, where it's like, no, like we wake up in this, there's not a scene in the first half hour that doesn't propel us further, either in understanding the characters efficiently or down the road to where we're going with our story. And it's just, man, I don't care where it comes in the timeline. I don't care who's acting in it. I just care that it's more like the former and less, or like more like the latter and less like the former.
Yes, I concur. I know we already did our recommendations, but I have another one.
All right.
Go ahead.
Go see Kong Skull Island.
Oh, is it good?
It's fun. It's fun. I'll say like Logan, there were things of like I go Logan like all right, that was really ham-fisted. I thought that was just sort of a little bit too over the top with like particularly towards the ending with the kids and stuff and trying to make sure they're going to sponge every tear out of you. But it was so great. I'm like I will forgive these things. Skull Island, I would say that there are like at the opening where you're trying to get to meet like the soldiers and the people going there, it's I would say a lot of that just sitting in a large audience. Some of the kind of the jokes and stuff were just sort of like, all right, well the people on screen think that's funny, that's fine. It doesn't ruin it for me, but I'm not as pulled into it. But as it developed, but as a solid, just fun giant King Kong movie, I thought it was beautiful. Thought it was great. I think I may have had more fun watching it than I did the Peter Jackson one. And I mean, it's Kong basically set in kind of this Vietnam era, and it's like Full Metal Kong. I was what's it like when these people they get pulled, this army helicopter unit gets pulled out of Vietnam and gets sent over to Skull Island, and they don't realize they're about to encounter a giant monkey.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we had kind of the buzz on that movie was not fantastic, and then all of a sudden it started screening and everybody dug it. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped. I'm actually Get Out's next on the list, but certainly after that.
And they do something cool, which is like you meet Kong right off the bat. Like they don't hide the fact that like I wonder what they're gonna find on the island. Yeah. I wonder what's there. Can you guess, audience? Can you guess? Because we're gonna make like Godzilla. We're gonna make you wait an hour to find out what's there, and you're like. We're waiting for it to show up, and once it showed up, we're kind of angry that. I mean, there's like you meet Kong, and then it's a while before you meet him again. But like we all know what's going on, and by the time he comes into it, there's not like kind of a is this a footprint? What is this? It's like the Kong introduction was awesome.
Cool.
So just fun, just go fun, beautifully shot. These aerial sequences, the helicopters fighting Kong, really, really well done.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
We good?
We're the best.
Would you say that it's been a fun podcast?
I would indeed. I'd concur.
Okay, cool. 'Cause I'd say it's been weird.
Yeah.
Cool things. Alrighty, you ready to take a
let me just check on the fam. Oh,
sweet.
Let me give it a little stretch.
Hi, everybody. It's time for the Between Things. Between the Things. We have a lot of people in the studio today, so we cranked up the AC. But it's actually gotten a little bit chilly. But it's better than the alternative, because when it gets hot in here, it gets really hot in here. So. Oh, yeah. Well, here, you're welcome to scoot over and take a look at the switching station if you'd like. Yeah, so we split up the same speaker system. Well, we have great mics. So, he's asking. Amos is asking how we don't get echo. We have really great mics. They the fact that you can't be picked up from over there much at all. Like we keep the in-house speakers pretty low. And yeah, these just have a super short throw. So he's asking. We use the the secondary command for Skype. So that's what we're doing. 2 instances, and then there's separate windows in Wirecast, so it receives them as separate things. So they're on different accounts. So each account is set up to go to a different sound card. So we have 2 external sound cards over on the floor there. Hi, everybody. And hi, everybody. we have a Heil PR40s. These are though I don't know, like these are good mics, but there are still other great vocal mics and other great the mics for different uses, right? But we're not gonna buy $2,000 Neumanns. So if anybody's got any questions for me, I started putting together the night attack.
Do you have a girlfriend?
Not quite. I started putting together the night attack show video version last night, and I got maybe, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes in. What's up? He's walking away. They're all trying to get a break in right now. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I got maybe 20 minutes or so in. It sounds great. I really do love that mixer that they have. What was I gonna say? But I realized I synced almost everything up, but I forgot to include the camera audio that I wanted to use. Or I wanted to add it to the mix, and also, what was the other thing? There's something else I forgot. So, like, I only made a few edit points so far, but I probably need to start over, unfortunately. Oh, boy. It's Monday. It's almost Pi Day tomorrow. Pi Day's tomorrow, right? And
Yeah, I mean, if you use that way to solve for pi.
that is, yeah, I only use the Gregorian method of solving for pies. Just
Yeah.
one day a year I can find out what a circle looks like. The rest of the year I have to do the Fibonacci thing, and it doesn't ever meet up.
No, I just use 3.
Do you go with 3?
Works for me. I don't believe in fractions.
Or decimals?
Nope. Nope.
Oh boy.
Did you see Kong or Logan?
I saw Logan, but I didn't see Kong. I heard it was really good. I saw one trailer for it before some other movie. Maybe I saw that before Get Out. But it looks it was surprising to me because I didn't have any opinion on it beforehand, and it seems like it could be really funny.
I had been prejudiced against it due to a friend in production who worked on it who did not really care for it.
Oh.
And then, but I realized that the last 2 films they worked on, they told me were good, actually sucked. The one they said sucked was actually good. So,
Okay, so I looked up the director for Kong Skull Island, Jordan Vogt Roberts.
Mhm.
Jordan Vogt Roberts. And IMDb has him listed as a rumored / announced Metal Gear Solid movie.
yeah, he'd been talking about that. That was he campaigned for that for a while.
Yeah. I was talking about it in the chat room just a little bit, but Logan is a great Metal Gear Solid movie.
It may be his.
If you get rid of all the, the future tech nanomachine stuff, but even then, there are a lot of good parallels.
I think Logan's a great Little Miss Sunshine remake.
You know what? No. Yeah. Okay.
Can we just let Logan be Logan? Like, Logan is the most. Logan is the best blank. Everyone's got their Logan's a blank take, right? Like, Logan's the best video game movie. Logan's the best comic book movie. Logan's the best, whatever. Western with knives. Logan's the best Stephen Merchant vehicle.
I don't know. I just thought I had a unique perspective on it.
I'm just saying, man.
No, Bryce. How dare you have your own thoughts on the issue?
Lolo Ganland, Striker Rich says. Uber, but for Logan. Okay. Sure.
It is kind of Uber, but for Logan. Yes,
That was-
Uber app.
It was such a neat choice too of him just being, a driver and not like, what if he was a hitman for the Russians
Or a
and-
bodyguard, or
Yeah. But no, he's just a guy trying to drive and then the idea that people all know who the X-Men is and
Well, in that they're like passe. They're like old news.
yeah. And then,
Pretty good.
random runaway kids manage to have Wolverine action figures.
Yeah.
Who's that? A Jedi Day says Logan is an advertisement for Bring Your Daughter to Work Day.
And like my youngest niece looks a lot like the girl who played.
She
Daphne
does.
Keane.
Really?
Yeah. I was telling my brother like, hey, you guys should do like a dress up for Halloween. And Isabel would totally do that, but he's like, yeah, but I don't think I'm ready to show her the movie yet.
Yeah, probably.
She's like 5 now, and what's amazing about her is she's a little prankster, and like my brother, like the older daughter was in a room, and my brother walks by, flips the light switch out, turns the lights out on her. She's like, thanks, Daddy, right? And then she goes and tells the mom about it, and it says, and then the little one Isabella overhears, oh, you can turn lights out on people as a prank, right? And then the older one goes upstairs, and about 10 minutes later, you hear, Isabella, turn the light back on. My brother says you watched Isabella as she overheard Annie complaining about the prank, and he watches her eyes widen, and she's like, oh, this is a thing you can do.
That's funny.
She was the one that got caught. She went to go to the little girls' room at her school. The teacher's wondering what took so long. She walks into the room and sees that all of the stalls have been shut and locked right as Isabella's climbing out from underneath the last stall after having locked it from the inside. It's my niece. She gets it from her mother's side of the family, though, Oh, by the way, do either of you guys do 23andMe?
I did the Ancestry DNA.
Yeah, I did Ancestry.
I got a Neanderthal update.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. You and Rounceville are neck and neck on who's got more Neanderthal.
He's got me beat for Neanderthal. Because I was like I had this wonderful. I go look up. Some girl had asked me about my ancestry, and then I find out that it says you're in first place of your family and friends for Neanderthal variants.
Ha!
And then I post it, and then Rounceville's like I think he's like 90% was probably, what am I gonna guess?
He's effectively.
Yeah,
he is 303. More than 85% of 23andMe customers.
Yeah. But
Are we good to go? Are we waiting on anything, or?
No.
I think about missing folks in here, but
what do we want to do on this after things?
I
had an idea.
Okay.
Well, we've got the folks from Ritual Misery here, and this is a show about the creative process and being an independent creator, and I mean that's what they're doing. I wonder if they I don't know if they want to ask questions or.
Sure. 'Cause we have a question that we got in too.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think we'll do everything, do all things.
then I'm gonna need a little bit more time.
Okay.
And also see if they have anything they want to add.
Would I be able to ask a question or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it might be canceled, but there still is the possibility that I have Hotline Monday at the top of the hour. So.
Top of this hour?
Well, we're already in this hour.
Yeah, the top of the next hour.
Am I in your way?
We should look at getting that mixer.
I want to make sure we could use it as a live box.
Right.
Though I also want to look and see how much we could use it as a mixer here.
Oh, interesting. Might be like a bigger brother. That's
I think you could need
more channels. Yeah.
pluses.
Yeah.
Which means sending people
To separate audio. Yeah. And everything blends together.
But then you don't get any.
Yeah.
By the way, there is a Falcon 9 launch scheduled for 1:34 a.m. Eastern, and
I can't
whatever
believe
time it is,
we didn't-
10:34 p.m. here.
We didn't talk about the news, the announcement that they're sending up a used one.
That's going to be theoretically in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll be all over that.
And they've asked SpaceX, we've got a lot of backlog. What do you plan to do? And Gwen Shotwell, who's president of SpaceX, is like, yeah, well, we got a lot of these. I don't know if you realize this. We've got a bunch of these rockets laying around to use, so we're just going to start reusing those. It's like, really? Yeah, no, we're serial. That was the plan, was to reuse these rockets, and that's what we're going to start to do to catch up on our backlog.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I think that was me coming back through Justin's thing.
Oh, was it?
No,
Yeah.
that was me saying it immediately after you. We just
Oh,
had the
okay.
same-
We both said it the same way.
Not like you guys talk to each other about it.
Yeah. Slowly becoming the same person.
I want to yell at Justin for making me lose my voice at some point. It's all his
What's
fault.
that?
I said I want to yell at Justin for making me lose my voice at some point.
Oh.
It's all his fault.
Hi. Trey Warren says he's got the X-Air 18 too. Okay. Well, yeah, we used it. The Possum Posse just got it, so I'm sure if we want to play around with it.
Okay.
We'll have the guys over in there. What's that? Guys ready for the last 5 minutes of this song? And it's just this bubbling sound. Okay. I'm sorry. I was joking. It's 6.5 minutes of this song.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a feeling the end sounds a lot like the beginning.
Well, technically it's the middle, but
Why do you have to yell at me, Bryce?
I'm
Why are you-
not. Oh, dang it. So Kent and Amos, it sounded like if you guys want to talk about podcasting a little bit after things would be an all right time. Hence the microphones that have been put in front of you. All right, guys. So, all that said, let's go do after things, huh? You guys good?
Ready.
Good? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Yo, ready.
All right, take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to After Things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood,
Howdy, howdy.
Justin Robert, smug-looking young.
That's me, ma'am.
This is the after show where we talk about being independent creatives and whatnot. We've actually got some people in Brian's studio, which would be cool. And so we're going to start off with a general question that maybe everybody could weigh in on answer, and maybe guests have some answers and stuff too. And I'll let you introduce them. So do you want to introduce whoever else we might be?
Well, yeah. How about you guys introduce yourselves? These are the gang from the Ritual Misery podcast, which you can see Monday nights or Thursday nights at diamondclub.tv. Introduce yourselves.
I'm Kent.
It's great.
But no. Thanks for the intro, Brian. Yeah, we do the Ritual Misery podcast Thursday nights on DCTV.
For those of you
Great
out
recap.
there who would not know what the Ritual Misery podcast is,
It's just a couple of geeky dudes that have been friends for a really long time, and we talk about
can't
geek
relate.
stuff. Yeah.
Can't relate. Can't relate to that at all.
Yeah, it's really just a celebration of geekness and any kind of niche interests. We like to talk about it, explore it, and get guests on to explore it further.
Cool. And I spoke over you when you're introducing yourself, sir.
Oh, I'm Amos. I'm the other guy from Ritual Misery.
your ritual. Got it.
Bringing that trademark energy, right?
That'd actually be an accurate statement
fire.
that I'm the ritual and he's the misery. Because I think
that's pretty accurate.
I think everything he does is miserable, and I'm the OCD one. So I spent the actual show writing down diagrams of how the lights are set up and how the cameras are set up and all that kind of stuff, because I'm always trying to improve everything that we can in our podcast. So,
Well, so
I see you guys have the appropriate dysfunctional relationship as we do. That's good.
Good, yeah.
so what was the first question that we had, Andrew?
So we have a question. This is from a frequent listener viewer. It says, "Hey guys, love the show. I've launched a new YouTube channel, and I'm wondering what kind of advice," they wrote mind of advice you can give me about building audience and companion podcast.
Ooh, any details on their YouTube
This is
channel?
kind of sparse. It's from Andrew M.
All right. The first thing is, as we all say, is regularity is king. And before you even start promoting it, I think it's a good idea to have a back catalog, and especially if I'm going to assume this Andrew M knows what he's doing, in which case he can hit the ground running. But some
He said
people
they did 5 episodes before they launched it, just to get the kinks worked out, and before they launched it, they launched just to have the background. They did 5 episodes also, so when people went into YouTube to go, oh, what is this? They can go back and find older episodes and say, okay, there's more stuff here.
Yeah, that was one of the accidental smartest things that we did when launching the Modern Rogue YouTube channel. Was we did test episodes for half a year before we moved everything from the Scam School channel to the Modern Rogue, and it was fun the first time one of those episodes really hit and started showing up in the YouTube recommended feed. People were like legit confused. They're all like, why does this channel only have 10,000 subscribers? This looks too good for this. So likewise, by having that back catalog, just like you say, what the YouTube algorithm wants to see is people start a thing and then binge the rest of them, and then it that gives it a social cue that it's a legit thing.
How much do you guys? There's a lot of PSs here apparently. How much do you use like the YouTube cards function and stuff, and check out other episodes?
Bryce sets up all the cards and stuff, and
so we do have cards that will link to the store when we have products on the shows. We do have cards that will link to like our behind the scenes channel and other related videos, because the old annotation system does not work on mobile or TV. Well, nothing works on TV, but it doesn't work on mobile, and so that's 1 to 2/3 of your audience potentially not being able to click a link.
That's a good point.
So you want to use cards, but you only get 5 is the tricky thing. The other thing is this may not be as helpful for a longer show, but the other thing that we get a lot of use out of is the new end card system. So instead of making a CTA graphic and then
CTA is a call to action. That's that thing at the end where they're all like, click here to see this and all that stuff.
Basically, YouTube has like reworked that system to work like a card. So instead of making annotations and drawing it out, you take elements of like, here's a link to a video, here's a link to a recommended video where YouTube automatically fills in what it thinks is best for the next person, channels you want to promote, links and things. So look into both of those. Cards and end screens are both really, really useful tools.
Now, is this new system better than the old system?
100%.
In that it functions and the old one does not.
It has limitations.
That's why I asked, because the old system is kind of known to just be crap.
Yeah.
So
and the limitations of the end card system is you can only do it within the last 20 seconds of your video, and it can only be up to 20 seconds, and you only get so many elements in that. But that's probably good thing anyway, because you don't want to bombard people with a million different choices and a million different options.
Choice paralysis.
Yeah.
Andrew M says one of the things that they did was they created a one website, magicclub.tv. Which is weird because I have a website with the same name, to try to figure out, because that was the hard part, was figuring out like where do you tell people to go? Where do you tell people to go? We'll go here, go there. It's like, well, let's put. Clearly we want people to go subscribe on YouTube, and we want to go do that. But like before, because we I think we've got to get like 20 more subscribers to reach the 100-person thing to be able to get our own name. That's not like a random sequence that looks like an Apple password suggestion. And so, but I thought, well, this person thought, just do like magicclub.tv because that's easier. Everybody can find it. You can put the links to all the stuff and put that there.
Yeah,
and
so
is that
it
helpful?
looks right now like you have it forwarding to itrix.com/Magic Club, right?
Yeah, I didn't do a blind forward because I
Great.
was lazy.
So I would actually point it. I mean, keep this. You're going to want to keep this no matter what. But if your goal is to drive traffic to get people to click the subscribe button, so like right now, if I go to magicclub.tv and it says subscribe to the channel, what happens when I click on it? That just takes you to.
It's just a link. You can make. You actually want. This is something you can do, Andrew. So you have a button that says subscribe, but that just takes you to the YouTube channel. You can actually make a version of that link with a little bit at the end where people click here and then a pop-up says, do you want to subscribe to this channel right when it loads the page?
I would love to find that, yeah, because I was trying to find code. The only thing I could find was like a little tiny thing that hadn't been fully supported. But if in all your abundant free time, if you know of a resource to point this person to,
yeah, I don't know that one specifically, but it's used a lot in terms of getting people to go to the thing and automatically ask them. Yeah.
That's super helpful.
I would consider, at least for the short term, maybe just having magicclub.tv just pop you straight to this channel. So because one of the part of the reason that the YouTube is so powerful and sought after is its discoverability, its ecosystem. People feel more comfortable in it. They know exactly where to go to different things. So if you're courting people from the YouTube environment, like I know that I personally almost never, once I'm in YouTube land, I almost never click out to their website.
Well, I mean, it wasn't so much as what to tell people in YouTube to do. It was more of like in general, because like the problem was like we don't have a channel name. Right. Until you reach the 100 and whatever like that, which will happen next couple days. So I didn't have a channel name. So it's like, where do I tell people to go? Well, we have a thing on YouTube. Go search for it, which is dumb and stupid the way that YouTube works.
Right.
And also we do an audio podcast. And it's like, okay, I need to have one thing. Here's how you find the podcast. Here's how you find this. Here's how you find that stuff. So that was the thinking. And I agree within the YouTube ecosystem, it's like YouTube, stay here. Go to Patreon, YouTube.
But with it being an hour-long show, I feel like having a link that can give people the RSS or like a landing page like this is almost better, unless it's really you want the main focus to be on YouTube.
Well, I'm just thinking as a short-term burst. If the goal is like let's get over that 100 subscriber, you know what? Let's just fix this right now. Everybody
go subscribe. Go to magicclub.tv and click that button.
Yeah.
Because I know there are very few full-length, hour-plus podcasts that I listen to just through YouTube, including like the Bizarre Briefing that we do in the studio. We post it on YouTube, but we send everybody to the bizarrebriefing.com because that's got the RSS and the YouTube links. So it's kind of it's a different thing when it's a longer show like this.
Well, it's very interesting because like Brian, your experience in this ecosystem and Bryce, you guys working on that because that's because you do some shows that are your main source of revenue is YouTube. Some of your projects are like, well, we build up our audience and then we have the scam stuff. Some of the stuff is Patreon supported. Some of it is those private shows you use in glass coffee tables, which I can't talk about. So there's a lot of the different sort of things. And, I know that like with this one is like our primary audience, we look at like the most likely person to sort of support us on Patreon or whatever is probably somebody who we can find on Facebook through a Facebook ad directed at magicians and stuff like that.
That's interesting. Are you going to buy Facebook ads? Because you're right. If you can reach out to magicians directly and basically take a topic that's on all of magicians' minds, because we all tend to think the same things at the same time and want to talk about the same things. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, I've had really good success using Facebook ads for marketing my magic stuff. It's been very, very helpful. And so for Magic Club, we know like right now it's like we'll just burn some money so people know about it and get to hear about it and just start increasing our views and stuff, is sort of that. And we launched it, last week. So it's just kind of we're happy so far with where the growth has been going. But yeah, it's like figuring out where are the people that we need to reach.
Awesome.
Well, and that's and Magic is a smaller community for which you guys have inroads, and already if you have figured out if you are successful at selling Magic books, then you are also highly likely to be successful with interesting people in a free product. So, and then of course the free product leads to the paid thing. So I mean, really, my only thought is that the best success that I've seen in all of these mediums have meant that there is a decision on where you're going to focus your energy, because creating a successful podcast is different. Like, creating a podcast that would be the equivalence, the equivalent of, let's say, a Scam School or a Modern Rogue would require a lot of different kind of effort than the effort that Brian put in to make those YouTube channels tremendous successes. So I would say for this, it's like once you get the vanity URL on YouTube, the question is how much of this is a YouTube channel and how much of this is a podcast?
We see it being primarily YouTube, because like when we do the secret sessions where we do the teaching portion of it, that's also video based. We think it's going to live there, but the moment I launched it, with Pete Shredder /Show, I was like, well, is there an audio version? I'm like, oh yeah, there are a lot of people that just want to consume this sort of talk part in that way.
Yeah.
So, and that was why I had a plan, and then the audience told me, well, this is what we're looking for, and if I've learned one thing from Brushwood and Young, it's just tell your audience to go screw off.
So one nice thing about this format for you is that, again, the YouTube algorithm is not focused on the number of views or the number of viewers. It's focused on the amount of engaged watch time. And so both this and like Red Letter Media, Half in the Bag, has these hour-plus long interview shows. If you can have, you'd rather have 1,000 people watch it for an hour than 10,000 people watching for a minute,
Yeah, I'm looking at I love the analytics now. For those of you who've never launched a YouTube channel or whatever, or have not paid attention to it, I'm Captain Caveman coming out of, hibernation here, looking at what's going on. And I'm like, oh, that shows me watch time and minutes and views and stuff like that. And this is very, very helpful. So I'm actually looking at the watch time divided by the views. I'm like, oh, we're getting pretty good retention.
Yeah. If you can just try to, the trend you want to see up is the watch time one. And that's all the algorithm cares about. Views is comforting because you could see a big number and be like, I know what that feels like, and compare it to TV numbers in your mind. But it's not really helpful in terms of making making
Headway?
progress, making
headway. As a listener of podcasts, can I share my one specific way that I use YouTube in relation to podcasts is listening to podcast clips. A lot of it is fans who have clipped out bits from shows and they post it, and the YouTube algorithm is smart to know, okay, these things are all connected. So people who are listening to these things will want to listen to clips from these shows again. Mm-hmm. And especially when you have something visual like this, if there are, anywhere from 1 to 10 minute chunks that are this is a good clip that stands on its own and could be interesting, there is definitely space for that. That's something I've wanted to do more on the Night Attack stuff, is chop out bits, because you are creating a wider web for people to find those smaller clips,
right,
and tie it to these longer, full episodes.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of my recommended feed on YouTube is cut out clips from wrestling podcasts I don't listen to. Mm-hmm. It just because they're usually about 10 to 15 minutes, which for a YouTube video is long, right? And it just gets that clickbait title that's enough to make me click on it, right? It's just, here's a juicy thing about this thing, or this person's take on this event that happened, and it dominates my recommended feed. That is 80% of it.
And YouTube knows when I've fallen down that hole of you're listening to podcast clips, we're going to keep lining them up for you. And then you go back to YouTube, and that's exactly what it shows you next. Hey, you were listening to podcast clips. Here are some more of them.
And so, as far as your program, Andrew, I would imagine that you've got some insane talent there. So what you could do is you get to post the original episode, but then you also get to carve out, like here are 3 really good, surprising moments that you could say so and so's thoughts on blank, so and so's thoughts on the other thing, so and so's thoughts on name of card move or whatever, and then that way you have the ability to lure in people from the outside.
And that's really where the YouTube card system and the end title system are going to shine, because you have shorter clips that people will get all the way through.
And then
so you can
like,
say,
here's
where this
full
episode's
thoughts.
from, right?
Yeah.
Check out the channel
Like,
XYZ.
I'll tell you what, and there's got to be a magic equivalent, but like all these wrestling clips always just work this strategy, because in the terminology of wrestling, there is shooting, right? So it's shooting is telling the truth, working is the artifice of a wrestling match, right? So they'll always just have blank name shoots on blank name, and it just implies all this context of like breaking the rules, and that you're gonna really look, type in any wrestler and shoots on, and it'll give you a billion different other, people, right? And it's just all these, words that that it doesn't necessarily even have to be interesting, but people click on it because they want to know that, And so I wonder what the magic equivalent of shoots on is. It's like, it gives the real work on blank.
What does shoots on mean again?
Shoots, it's like, so there's in wrestling, there's a work and there's a shoot. And so if I'm telling you this Sunday at WrestleMania, I'm going to kick Goldberg's ass, that's a work, right? Because I'm trying to build the hype for this thing. If I'm like, hey, Goldberg's a really nice guy, and when we worked together 3 years ago, he couldn't have been nicer, and I signed autographs for his kids, that's shooting. I'm telling the truth about the behind the scenes kind of thing. But
it's in fiction and out
no
of fiction.
guarantee
Got it.
that's interesting, right? They could just be like what I said. I met him. He was really cool. You want to know what? He loves iced tea, something that you might not know about him. Both the drink and the rapper. He's just a huge fan. But it gets clicks, all the views, and if you look at that recommendation engine, it's everything like that.
I
And
mean,
wonder
I
if
would
there's-
say, Blake
Spills
Voice,
the bean.
I don't know, explains the blank move or thoughts on blank move or whatever.
because there's something naughty to it. There's something like, oh, I'm getting behind the scenes of this
Real stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting the real stuff,
Something to think about anytime you have a YouTube channel. The algorithm is a game you're going to constantly play, because they're going to constantly change it.
Yep.
And once you decide YouTube is the primary outlet for whatever, you have to continue to play that game. So that's something you're going to have to keep track of too.
Well, and that's the thing is you got to realize, if you want to win, YouTube has made it clear. It's like, oh, all of you guys all work for us. We run an ad factory, and we want you to make the right eyeballs look at the right ads. And so we're gonna reward those of you who do it well, and we're gonna punish those of you who don't do it according to what we want. Now, that's not to say that you should or shouldn't get involved with YouTube, but when it's a very different game, the YouTube game versus the podcast game. But there are some crossover. One thing that works in both is appear on other people's podcasts, appear on other people's YouTube channels. Like the collaboration engine, it works, man. Like that's what both YouTube and podcasts want to see and do.
Yeah, mooching off of other people's audiences has really been like how we've built our audience for Ritual Misery. We get people like Brian on or Justin on, and you guys bring your pre-built audience. Oh, we want to see this other thing that they did, and then or
we fly all the way to Austin just to
sit in Brian's studio.
Well, again, that's exactly what you should be doing. I mean, it's like the biggest jump that we saw so far on the Modern Rogue was when I did I think 3 or 4 collaboration videos with Grant Thompson, the King of Random, and it's not like I stole his audience. It's just that people are like, oh, I like this guy, and then I'll give the Modern Rogue a try, and then then they fall into that click well. Have we lost Andrew entirely?
I'm
Wow.
here.
Oh, okay.
If you can hear me.
Yeah, yes,
but my computer's completely frozen other than my Skype stream.
Okay.
So, but as long
Just
as
a
I'm
really
present.
good
So my
check.
question for you then is, like, if I'm going to do like little clip segments and things like that, just put them into the regular YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can organize them into lists. You could say like
make a clips playlist.
Yeah, clips playlist.
And a full episodes playlist.
Yeah, correct. And then just make all the right titles. I guess you're not. I was wondering if we already crossed over your subscription number or not.
I can't tell because I'm frozen.
Yeah. So what about you guys on Ritual Misery? Do you guys focus on the YouTube side of things? Where do you guys distribute?
Our YouTube channel is literally just another avenue for the video podcast,
Right.
that we're putting out there. And
Yeah,
it's just a place we that's where I upload the most high quality version, because for podcast listeners, unless you're going to have a high quality version separate, you're going to have a lower quality version for the podcast itself, which is what we do.
Right.
So, and we do have a few people that have told us, "Hey, I just watch you on YouTube only. I don't do the podcast thing." So it is effective in that way. But if you look at our channel, you can tell it's not
it's very low numbers. We focus primarily on the iTunes distribution, the podcast RSS side of it. But since we got on DiamondClub.tv, we really focus on the live audience and the interaction, and that's what really gives us the satisfaction of doing a show.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's more fun anyway.
right,
Yeah.
and then for basically for archival purposes, the RSS feed.
So, have you guys tried any best practices to get ahead in the iTunes algorithm, or is that a focus of yours? Like, I guess that's a crowded category, geek culture. I'd imagine there's one or two other podcasts like that.
there might be.
Yeah, we've heard of a couple. No, I mean we looked at that stuff, and when we first started distributing through RSS, we looked at that and tried to figure out how it works, but it is very convoluted, and I don't think anyone out there really knows how to
what iTunes is doing.
right how to work that algorithm. I mean, there's some theories out there, but
It starts by going to Cupertino, like Brian and Justin do, and sucking up to the mothership.
Yeah, I mean,
to be honest, the big lesson there is just that those charts are run by new subscribers, and they are affected by reviews, and you are more likely to get promotion if you have good art that is spec'd correctly. Like, that was the lesson that I got from the mothership, was like, do yourself a favor and just like make it pretty, because we are only going to push pretty things. Like, you have to be the biggest hit podcast ever for them to push you if you have ugly art.
And that might be the problem, because we actually have our visage on the cover, so it's already
our bad.
excluded from that.
well, and also, one of they have problems that they need to solve, including, they want to feature new podcasts to discover, but they have needs. They need good art. They also need an angle, a reason that it's in there. It's like, well, why this week should we do it? So it's like, we manufactured a Cord Killers Cut the Cord special just so that we would have a reason to reach out to them and say, hey, we're doing a special. We do this once a year, Cut the Cord special, and here's some nice art that goes with it. And then they threw us in the recommended feed for a week, which makes a huge difference. And so I would say, Andrew, you probably want to do a similar thing for that, if you could think of some planned special in a event coming up.
That's a great idea. It's a great idea to do that.
This
is very helpful, guys. It's very, very helpful. This Andrew M. really appreciates this, because
I'm sure he does.
You're around it, and then it's sort of it's not obvious. And it was, to the point of your guest there, it's trying to figure out, like, when we launched iTricks, Justin and I launched iTricks years ago, we did podcasts. We were like, because like, literally when we launched iTricks, YouTube was a year old.
Yeah,
Yes,
nobody
right.
knew that. And in fact, around that same time, when Scam School launched, we revision3.com thought it was a competitor to YouTube. It's like, well, we're going to grow faster than them, and no way we'll put our content over there. And then at some point it became clear that YouTube was going to become the dominant platform.
Yeah. I remember when Leo Laporte, when Twitter announced, and he was very upset about Twitter, and because he had Twit, and sort of saw that as this upstart, that's sort of usurping his name to a degree. You back me up on that, right?
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, he tried very actively to kill Twitter by promoting every Twitter competitor up to and including Jaiku and Plurk.
That is hilarious. So that's very helpful. So I mean, it's my mindset is like our target demographic is sort of magicians and magic hobbyists, and theoretically, it's people who are going to want to do the secret session, which you get by accessing the Patreon, which if you support it at $2 per creation level. We set it up at saying let's do it instead of monthly by doing it by creation, because our thinking was the fear of not delivering enough episodes every month. If we do it by creation, then we're like, okay, well, we're going to clearly, be incentivized to do that. Do you have thoughts on that when it comes to Patreon, by month or by creation?
Oh, definitely by creation in my book.
Unless you have a fill that you're doing every single day, like Tom Merritt does.
Well,
and that's kind of
even then, if I could, I mean, if you could support at the 10-cent level, then I still would tell him to do per creation.
Well, I think if you are doing regular content, if you're doing irregular content, like you're a musician and you're writing music and you're performing live and you're just giving people either concert footage or bootlegs or something like that, then I could see the argument for monthly. But in anything that is in our sphere, to me, it makes like the guiding sense of why you want to do it monthly is like, oh, well, I don't know. People might think it's onerous that every single time that you're putting that out there, and then all of a sudden you start doing the like, oh, I pay this for Netflix and this for my, this is what I pay for cable, and why will this be more than that or less than that? It's like, just do it. Just let people pay what they want per creation.
There is an argument if you're doing daily content that every time you send something, it clutters up their inbox because they would get an email every single day.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't see how that's an issue because they like your stuff, and that becomes their feed, is the reminder of like a new episode is there or whatever.
But if I can do a little bit of a devil's advocate,
sure.
And we went through this the past few months with Patreon. Patreon upped their minimum pledges to $1.
Correct.
So that means that you're saying there is no 10-cent option.
Correct. And that's why I said if, in an alternate reality. But
no, but you can.
No.
You can cap it, right?
Well, you can cap it, but you can't. It's a wonky thing, and it's not how Patreon wants anybody to do it.
So Brian and I had a conversation the other night about the decision matrix. When you have to make decisions on, the number of decisions that you can complicate something with adds resistance to it. And if you have to go on there and you have to remember, okay, well, I'm going to pledge $1, but I have to cap it at this because it's they do it so often.
Right.
You're adding one more decision to it, and I'm just wondering if that was.
Yeah, all right. I would say daily. Yeah, daily. I can see the reasoning, but aside from that, if you are doing something weekly, I can count 5 Patreons that I know that have shifted from monthly to weekly, and I cannot count any that have shifted from weekly to monthly in this Patreon era that we are in. Like that is just the better way to do it if you are doing it regularly, weekly.
We actually started doing the per creation as an incentive to get regular, but now that we've gone to, we have a goal this year of 50 episodes period, on a weekly basis. That it's kind of made it to where we're going to stay with the per creation on the same basis that you're talking about, that it's a regular thing, but it's it's still the incentive is there for us to create and for us to do and for us to not back out.
Correct. And also by being per creation instead of time unit, it incentivizes you to when something special comes along, like, you know, you're going to record live or whatever, and then maybe there's an amazing concert afterwards, then you can release that as a bonus extra, you know, creation.
Patron-only content.
No. Like as
Or a free content.
like release it as another creation. It's like we are, you know, good news team. We have double episodes this week, and then you guys get a little bit of extra scratch that way.
Right.
You know, it was interesting kind of getting into these and asking you guys questions about like, oh, you know, per episode, should it be weekly? Should it be this? Should it be that? And it's just so many of those things that you try to go do, and then you realize when you've got to communicate this to your audience, and as you guys pointed out over there, it was about that decision matrix. And I get into this all the time when I talk to, like, I've dealt with like publishers that are like, hey, I just sent out a link to Amazon. Like, no, we want you to send it to this page, or then people can choose which link to go to like wherever they want to buy it. I'm like, it's a speed bump, and it's almost like a wall. Like, give me a list of what those links are, and I'll tweet them out individually over the course of a day. Like, hey, if you like Amazon, go buy it here, whatever. But like, when you're telling me I got to send some people to a place to make another decision, then to make a decision, you know, we know from we all know here, like, you lose people. You're not going to get that input here. And so I've had to, like, with this, like with as I was getting feedback when we first launched this, because I had somebody says, hey, I want to support this, but I'm afraid what happens if you guys decide to create 50 creations? And I'm like, I need to put into the Q&A, hey, you can just have a limit on the monthly contributions. So if we have a bunch of Red Bull and decide to make a bunch of episodes, we're not going to bankrupt you.
Yeah. And you know, number one, it's not going to happen. Number two, set a limit.
Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm excited about this project, because everything else I've ever done is, I have a book coming out, right? I have Blackfall coming out, which comes out in just a little over a week, right? You go promote a book, you tell your audience about the book. I can only do so much talking about that book before everybody's like, shut up about the book. And people who have the book are like, yes, it's great, I got it, I did it, what have you. With podcasts and being able to promote something on a continuous basis, every week it's a new episode. I can say, hey, we got Blake Voigt on our show who's talking about his adventures on America's Got Talent. He did really well on that show. And then we can talk about, we've got Simon Coronel who's performing around the world in Macau. What's it like to perform for an audience that speaks several different languages? Or what's this? And I love the idea of having one thing I can continuously promote because there's a new angle every week.
Yeah.
Which is kind of new, and to build an audience for something slowly. Publishing is frustrating because it's like, oh, you need to have your audience like in the first couple weeks, and we'll decide if you're a failure or not. Although in the indie world, that's different. Side note, there may be an audiobook version coming out of a certain science fiction novel series I did.
Oh, great.
I may have just been sent, which narrator would you like to do this? Station Breaker Norpal. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So,
because, you know, I don't know how to read.
Oh, we know. Well, no, Brian, you willfully forgot how to read.
Yeah, no, that's true.
You're like, I gotta wean myself off of text because audio's the way to go. I'm not gonna pretend I don't know what those letters mean.
Man, I'll tell you what.
Look at my report card. I can't read by choice.
You joke, but I would not be shocked if that's, you know, a chapter in some Michael Lewis biography or book or something about like he is such a great leader that he has willfully forgotten how to read in favor of audio that he can constantly stream into his head.
So, oh, there we go. I'm hearing myself. Yeah, there. So what else? Any other questions?
Andrew may write in with more questions as things go on. Certainly, it's that how frequently, like, I know, like, weird things is probably it's the thing we do for fun and we like to do it, but it's the one we spend the least amount of attention time trying to market or try to promote like other stuff. And it's probably because it's a tragedy of the commons, because it's, you know, little yours, little Justin, little mine, and then we have a lot of fun doing it, but we don't do anywhere near as much as we should to do that. And that's the thing, is like how to be mindful of that, which applies to weird things too. Like, what more should I be doing on weird things?
Yeah.
too.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is like making things regular. I think was a huge boon to it. Adding the journey quest on the having a process now that makes it easy for us to do content creation where we're not flailing and going wildly different directions, and instead it's like, hey, here's a 20-minute segment we will always be able to do without having to write stuff in advance. I think was a really smart play as well.
Well, and also it's like, now we've kind of built in with like the whole show kind of has a bit of a process if unspoken, it's like serious story, silly story, journey quest, right?
Yeah.
Like
And then
that's generally the way everything goes. So and then obviously we can, if we all saw a movie or something that we're really, really excited about, or something just blocks out the sun and we dedicate the whole episode to that, then that happens periodically. But I think having the real delicate balance that has to come in when you do, especially if you're doing multiple weekly things, is you need to figure out where you can eliminate unnecessary decisions.
Yes,
And
both for you and for the audience. Like that's that's
absolutely.
one of the biggest jumps we got on patronage was when we pointed out, like, hey, no more like you on Night Attack you get one personal RSS feed, like Patreon adding that special RSS feed so that you get everything in one 3-hour massive rock block, the pre-show, the post-show, and the show in between. All of a sudden, a lot of people up their pledges, which were at $0.25 or whatever, up to $1 so that they could get that.
Very cool. Yeah, that's our goal was we do Magic Club, we do the straight up podcast, and then if you really then was using that, the secret session was, hey, want to learn more, you want to get in depth, that's the reason you subscribe. Because otherwise, to say, hey, just subscribe to let us talk for 20 more minutes about Magic when maybe we're already talking too long about it. And that was sort of the missing link for me was how do you go a little bit more insider? Because there's stuff that we're able to do on that show that some of our guests would never do on a regular YouTube channel. They would never want to go do out there, because either it might be too technical or it's a little bit too insider just to put out on a thing for everybody. You want to have some sort of wall there.
Right.
And we can argue the merits of that, back and forth. But I know that once we've explained, like, one, people are excited. We say, yeah, it's a Magic show podcast that's actually like a real show because we have segments and stuff. And then when I explain it, and we do this secret thing where it's a hidden YouTube channel or hidden feed, only accessible to the people who do this, whatever. They get excited because like, oh, I've got this thing I'd love to show. I'd love to be able to do this handling on this,
right.
But I don't just want to put it out there and for everywhere.
Right. Well, and so it's there's that token of exclusivity that makes it to where there's no way, like, they can say and do all the best Magic stuff and teach it without any fear of repercussions, because that line of what is and isn't appropriate to do and what is and isn't a public forum is a constantly shifting landscape.
Oh, what would you know about that?
Well, and there's that, and it's also there's stuff that I own, that I created that I can decide what to do, but I'm like, no, I wouldn't put this in an open YouTube channel because I also want the people who do it to know that, it's not their chances of them going, if they go to a party, somebody's not going to be like, oh yeah, I saw this on Scam School.
Right.
Not that has ever happened to anybody. And so it's like figuring out that, because part of Magic is some things really like to have exclusivity. Some things you want to know that's a smaller group of people. And if you go to the Magic Castle, you will see guys sitting at a table over there showing moves, and they'll look around over their shoulders to make sure nobody else is watching, because even in a room full of magicians, they don't want other magicians knowing.
Right.
Have you, Andrew? And I don't know if you're concerned about this, but because there is that level of exclusivity, and I think you can do it because you're not monthly. Or maybe you can only do it if you're monthly. But Patreon has an option where it's called pay on pledge. So the second someone pledges, they pay that amount right up front before the month or the creation
I think
is
that's
triggered?
a monthly option.
Okay, because I know
there
are illustrators who do that because their works get they get stolen and passed around, and they need a way to like gate that off so that people don't like put a fake pledge in, steal everything, and then get out before the next dump happens.
Yeah, Bryce, I thought a lot about that, and it was like, there certainly is. You're going to get people who are going to dip in just to get access to the archive and to go do that. But it's like that's a happy problem to be at that point. And another option we looked at is like I used Podbean to handle the podcast uploading and all that because I think I looked at their tools and they're actually really, really solid. They have a video component, and that might be at some point we might just say we could switch over to, hey, subscribe through Podbean, because Podbean actually allows you to sell subscriptions too, which is another way to do it. Because if we have a group of people and we have their ear and we can say, hey, if you want to go do this here, of course we didn't want to complicate things initially, so.
Yeah, I like the Podbean CMS, but I haven't tried any of their subscription stuff.
Neither have I, but I saw it was an option. And you can do unlimited video for something like $30 a month. I mean, and to think about that, back when we all started doing video and podcasting, guys, think about 2006.
So expensive.
What made YouTube was amazing. Like, you could load anything you want. Like, what?
What? This is crazy.
So,
hey,
cool.
do you guys have some picks?
Sure.
I do. I got one
first. I'm trying to think.
I got one. Somebody took Breaking Bad and cut it into a 2-hour movie, and the nutty thing is it works. There's a lot of inferred storylines and some montage segments, but it's got 3 main acts. And if you're somebody who either wants to, even if you just, some of the edits definitely change context and change character motivation. But it's already been pulled. Oh, do.
I like the Vimeo shrug.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I'm sure you can find it somewhere at some point. But I don't mean you right now, Bryce. I mean, my guess is it's not wiped from history. But
Sure.
It was interesting.
If we find it, check out the show notes.
Yeah, it was interesting because it basically took 3 core storylines and it showed all the best scenes with it, and it cut it together. It worked, and that was one of the things I asked everyone to do is watch it if you were somebody who had never seen the movie or the TV show before. And a number of people said, "I'm really glad I did that. Now I know what everyone's talking about."
I'm guessing there's a lot fewer scenes of Walter Jr. eating breakfast.
Andrew's back. Look at that.
Yay!
Just turned off my camera, turned it on. Didn't even think to do that.
Did you try turning it off and turning it back on?
I just did, and it worked. Now.
I am going to pick. I don't know. Better Call Saul is coming back. I saw a physical Los Pollos Hermanos this weekend. I was very delighted by that.
Yeah, did you guys go by there yet?
Yeah, they were already starting to deconstruct it by the time the lines got down and far enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. And it was just straight up, they were selling chicken? That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been to the place in Albuquerque that...
It's permanent, right?
Yeah. It's got the Los Pollos Hermanos sign and all of that stuff, but it's actually a burger joint on the inside.
That's funny.
Yeah, everything's laid out. It's like, here's Walter's booth. You can sit where he ate and all this other stuff. It's actually really cool.
That's like the original McDonald's. Like some other restaurant chain or whatever has it, but they have like McDonald's museum. It's sort of this weird kind of history to that. And then in LA here we have there's the McDonald's used in all the commercials, which is like in a city of industry, which I've never been by there. I want to go check that out because it's a McDonald's behind this fence because it's like the perfect McDonald's. My pick is if you have any interest in working in coding or doing things like that, and I've been working on that whole social media project I mentioned before. I use an environment. I use it's a cloud-based editor. It's called an IDE, like what it is. So it allows me to create my code, talk to the server and whatever, and have a test server and do that, save it, and then when I'm ready to deploy it to another system called Heroku. I've been using Cloud9. And Cloud9 actually got purchased by Amazon, and I've been very, very happy with it because it's very. I start a project, I'll abandon it, and I go back into it. Everything's there, everything's ready. It's cost. There's a free level, and then it's not that much per month to do that. It's been a very super easy way to do that. I'm not storing a bunch of files locally on my computer and not worried about that. Everything is served there. It's just a great way to develop and push things through and test stuff, and you can let other people go to their websites you're working on. It's a little nerdy technical, but there are a lot of tutorials. If you try like Team Treehouse or some of the other ones, or maybe it was like 1 month Rails and stuff, this is one of the ones that they say, hey, check this out. So if you're getting into coding and you're looking for a way to sort of keep it all kind of organized and what you're doing, Cloud9, been very happy with it.
Awesome.
And another plug too is like Shopify, by the way. I'm going to say, like, I'm going to double down. I picked Shopify. If you want to do web commerce, like, man, Shopify's been adding great tools and stuff. Like, they've been doing some really great tools for tracking. I'm looking at seeing like where orders are coming from, Facebook, wherever. They've just made that product better and better. You get that bill, that $80 a month bill with the level whatever I'm at, and you're like, but then I look at, man, like, their built-in system for sending things out and mailing stuff is great at certain levels. Other times you're better off using stamps.com, but Shopify as a shopping cart service has been. I was said, you know what? It's been friction free. I haven't had any complaints.
Ritual and Misery. You guys got have
you heard of Poppy?
Oh my God!
Wait. Oh,
Hi, I'm Poppy.
No.
I just shot you
this
a
would be a
link to a miniature playlist on our channel.
Poppycat.
It's completely ridiculous, and I got a playlist of a series of videos. It's two smaller of her videos, which this one's actually 10 minutes of her just saying the same thing. So, and then a kids react, and then she reacts, and then the kids react to her reacting to them. And it is the best 20 minutes that I can find on the internet right now. I've watched it like 4 times. And
Or the worst.
It's completely ridiculous, and it's funny.
It's pretty bad.
And shout out to DJM for giving this to us on our last podcast, and it's infected my brain since.
Kids react to Poppy. Right on.
No, the best thing I've seen on YouTube lately is Dorkly. It's a channel called Dorkly, and these guys put together these short 2 to 3 minute comedy clips that are in the style of 16-bit video games, and they're hilarious. And like I said, they're only like 2 to 3 minutes, so you can devour a few of them in a session, and they're pretty good.
Right on.
Sweet. Guys, it's been great having you on here. It's been super helpful. Andrew M. is very, very grateful that you were able to help him out. And, he's just starting out. Got to clear the smoke and fog from his eyes and, see his way out to there. So he'll get an update. And hopefully he'll reach just 100 subscribers on the YouTube channel. And then he can get a name for it. Although XQRT101--8888. Got it kind of catchy now. Kind of catchy.
It's got a rhythm.
It's been after.
Okay. Whew. All right, good shows, everybody.
All right, guys, I'm gonna tap out real quick and see whether or not I'm doing Hotline Monday.
All right, take care, sir.
All right, bye.
Sweet. Thank you.
With that, I think that's gonna do it.
What's that?
I think that's gonna do it for Weird Things.
For a couple hours.
We'll be back with Cord Killers in 2 hours.
Hey, question: has the quality of my video been better since I increased what I was paying for my internet here? It's not really well lit. Right?
I guess that's a no.
I feel like we've had better quality, but we still have these big hiccups, like when your video sort of took a shit today.
That wasn't the internet. That was my computer. So.
Was it?
Oh yeah. So I guess that's the thing is we can't really know. I know it. You like when you're not moving, it looks great.
I also don't.
Thank you, Brian. That's what I was looking for.
I know you were working on a lighting rig for that corner. I don't know how much of that you've got on, but it looks like you might still.
Yeah, I've got one light. I didn't turn on the blue light in the back because I just didn't want to reach up and do that.
Because part of it could be that your webcam is like having to crank up the noise and stuff, or crank up the ISO and stuff to get a good solid look.
Okay, no worries.
Though you do look a little jumpy right now. It should be smoother than that, huh?
Yeah. Oh well.
Now, is he using direct camera feed, or are you going through like other software?
Correct. If I do any type of thing through anything like there, it'll, I need to upgrade my computer. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it might be the computers as the choke point.
Yeah,
because if you're hanging during the show, I know that's made a huge difference on our systems.
Yeah, I'll have a conversation with you guys about that. Get some advice. So,
All right, cool.
Alrighty.
groovy. Thank you guys.
Love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.